everyone. I'm Dr. TuUESDAY, host of Tuesday Spark. Thank you for joining me tonight. Listen, it's about words of information and words of inspiration and words of insight. Listen, I'm not trying to tell you what to think. I'm just trying to get you to think. So remember, it just takes a spark to start a fire, so let's spark it up. So listen, here's some announcements. If in case you missed them, you can always go to the website and catch them. But remember, this year our theme is keep moving forward. And all the stuff that we've had to deal with, you got to keep moving forward. So every Sunday we meet at 9 a.m. Our service is live. And so you can come and join us on all of our platforms, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and 9 a.m. And in case you miss it, you can go to the website to see our service again. So we ask you to get up, experience the service with us. Also on Wednesdays we pray, 6:15 in the morning. So get up and pray with us. And then that night we have Bible study at 7:30, and we're going through the book of Esther. And it's a very powerful book. Even though the name of God is not mentioned, you can see God all through the book. So join us on tomorrow at 7:30. Our Daniel fast just ended on yesterday, and we had, I think many of you have experienced something wonderful, and some of us are probably continuing on. But also it's the Lenten season, so think about some of the disciplines that you have learned through the Daniel fast, and perhaps you can incorporate some of those throughout the rest of the Lenten season, which ends on Resurrection Sunday, we call Easter. And also I asked you when we started Daniel fast to reimagine what your life would be in 2021 and leading up to 2022. So you can still do that for the rest of the Lenten season. Look, on Palm Sunday, we are going to have a drive-in service on the 28th along with communion. You don't want to miss it. If you have children, please bring them. We're going to make sure that we're safe. You'll be in your cars, and we may have some chairs outside. And we want to have a wonderful time. So mark your calendar on that day. And also on April the 4th is Resurrection Sunday, Easter. Wow. We're right there. So mark your calendar for that as well. Again, I want to thank all the friends and family and just well wishes for supporting our church financially or with your prayers. And of course, we ask that you continue to support us. You even can give tonight through Givelify or Cash App, whatever amount you want to do that with. It could be 5, it could be 10. But if you're a tither, thank you so much for tithing. But remember, the ministry is about touching lives. It's not about brick and mortar. The village is in the business of touching lives. And we continue to do that with your help. So thank you. So tonight I want to talk about Black women are powerful. Because this is Women's History Month. So I figured I had to say something about Black women. So Black women are powerful. And so women like Billie Holiday, for her jazz genius and her courageous spirit in the face of tyranny from the United States government. This woman had to stand up against the United States government, and it really ripped her apart. But she still, this was a genius of a woman. And we can't just think of her, she was a drug addict. No, yes, she had a drug problem. But she was brilliant, and she was gallant. And her song, Strange Fruit, told a story about America that America did not want other people to hear or to think about. Angela Davis, who was born on January 26, 1944, is a political activist and academic and an author who has been highly involved in the civil rights movement in the U.S. And she's well known for her work and influence in racial justice, women's rights, and criminal justice reform. Davis is a professor emerita at the University of California at Santa Cruz in its History of Consciousness department. And she's the former director of the university's Feminist Studies department. Angela Davis has a really interesting history because in the 1960s and 70s, she was known for her association with the Black Panther Party, even though she actually spent a short time as a member of that group and the Communist Party. And she was, for a time, she appeared on the FBI, the Federal Bureau of Investigation's 10 most wanted list. 1967, she co-founded, 1997, she co-founded the Critical Resistance, an organization working toward dismantling of prisons, or what Davis and others have called the prison industrial complex. She is a phenomenal woman. And most of you have heard of Dr. Martin Luther King. Who hasn't heard of him, of his exploits? You know, many people celebrate his life and they claim him as a hero. When at the time of his life, you know, a lot of people didn't like him. He was hated by quite a few people in America. But there is a lesser known civil rights figure without whom Dr. King's work, and nothing less than the entire civil rights movement of the 1960s, may not have succeeded, and whose absence from the iconography of American history is a disservice to all of its citizens. And that person is Ella J. Baker. She's the granddaughter of slaves who graduated valedictorian of Raleigh Shaw's University in 1927. Baker spent nearly half a century raising the political consciousness of Americans, played a major role in three of the 20th century's most influential civil rights groups: the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, or we call it NAACP, the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, SCLC, and the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, called SNCC. You know, while all these groups were typically had male figureheads, it was Baker who, first as an NAACP field secretary, later as its director of branches, spent the 1940s traveling from small town to small town, convincing ordinary black citizens who had been enslaved and terrorized for more than 200 years to join together and peacefully insist that they were deserving of basic human rights. This is the kind of work she did, but she never really got credit for it. Mrs. Baker played a key role in influencing all of these groups. And Ms. Baker said that the major job was getting people to understand that they had something within their power that they could use. And it could only be used if they understood what was happening and how group action could counter violence. So let's not forget how powerful this woman was. Now, I would be remiss if I'm talking about all these powerful black women, and there are many, many more stories of powerful black women. And I would be remiss if I didn't mention, you know, women in my own life, in my own family, like my mother, Ann Christine Davis, my mother. You know, 5 children. She was a wife for 37 years. I remember my mother telling me one time, we had a backyard in D.C. You have these alleys in the back, and I had scraped my knee. I think I had fallen or something and tore my pants. And so when I came in the house, she said, so she cut my pants and made them short. She said, "Now go tear up your knees." That was her way of saying it's okay. You're gonna be all right. Still go have a good time. But she's still living. And I think about my grandmother on my mother's side, Annie Davis. Oh, what a lady. Worked for 40 years for a Jewish synagogue here in the city, and always made sure everybody was taken care of. What a spirit of hospitality. It doesn't matter if you came to the house on Christmas time and you were a visitor, she would find a gift for you. She would have extra gifts. We always had plenty of food. She put love in her food. And she just was a strong woman. You can imagine working all those years. I don't think my grandmother had a high school education, but she knew how to save money better than anybody in the family. She was very frugal. And then I think about just my 3 sisters. My older sister, Jackie, who's sort of taken over the role as a matriarch of the family. And I always kid her and say she's the oldest, but she's a very strong black woman. My sister, Patience, and my sister, Kat. These are beautiful, beautiful, strong black women. I think about even my nieces. I have several of them. I have Christian, I think, who's the oldest. And then there's Rachel. And then there's little Pay. And then there's Faith. Then there's 2 little younger ones my brother has. And I won't say their names because they're not women yet. I'm not talking about strong black women. But they will be. They're this young right now. But I think about them and what they've done, with their lives, going to college or working on their craft, doing wonderful things. I think about my own daughter, Essence, who moved to California without knowing anybody there and who's been there now for about 6 or 7 years. And she's making a life for herself. I think about even my brother's wife, Ananda, who started a business with the help of her husband and wrote a book and doing some other great things. And I think about the countless number of black women who are scientists, who are lawyers, who are mothers, whether they're single or married or with a partner, preachers, and politicians and practitioners, painters and dancers, engineers, scientists. I mean, every kind of work you could think about, black women have done or are doing. They are powerful. Black women are powerful. And that's why I think sometimes they come under such attack because people, particularly in this racist society, don't understand them or don't want to try to understand them. Sometimes they demonize them because they're simply jealous. You ever see sometimes when a wonderful, strong black woman walks in a room and how the other women of other ethnic groups would turn their heads like, wow, who does she think she is? Wow. You think about Michelle Obama and people would say all kinds of just mean things about her. And why? This lady was a graduate of Harvard Law School. She was a lawyer. She's brilliant. She's stylish. She's intelligent. She's a mother. Think about that. How many times because we don't understand or we've been told certain things about black women, so we put them in categories. But black women are powerful. I mean, I think about the women in my dad's church growing up who some of them were single mothers, but they made sure their children came to church. Their children were dressed. Some of them would catch the bus to make it to church. They would support the work that the church was doing, and they would go to work. They would do all kinds of things. They would support even their family members who a lot of times were getting in trouble, sometimes going to prison, and these mothers were just so powerful in what they did. I'm telling you, think about it. What in the hell would we do without powerful black women? Where would the world be if we did not take the opportunity just to celebrate powerful black women? No, they're not weak. No, they're not no angry black women. They just are black women, and they are powerful, standing in all of their majesty and their beauty, their glory, all of their agency, and just their brilliance. So I hope you take the time this month to celebrate some black woman in your life and tell her how powerful she is. Look, have a wonderful evening. This is Dr. Tait. This is Tuesday Spark. God bless.